Hey tea heads, this is Don from Mayleaf. I have in front of me a gnarly looking tea. Check this out. This is mostly stem with some leaves, but it's very, very stemmy. And when it first hit my sampling table, I looked at it and thought, it doesn't look particularly high quality, but it at least piqued my interest in terms of its unique look. But I did think, it looks a bit ugly. It's probably not going to be very good. And then I tried it and I had one of those ratatouille moments. If you've seen the animated film Ratatouille, then you'll know what I mean. This grumpy, jaded food critic, aka me sometimes, samples this simple but amazingly made ratatouille, and it just brings him viscerally back to one of the most precious memories in his life, where he's eating ratatouille made by his mother, I think. And it just brings him back to this moment. And it's so captivating and so emotionally connected to him that he can do nothing but smile and gush about this dish that he has served. And that's pretty much how I felt when I tasted this tea here. So let's quickly talk about it, and I'm going to taste it, and hopefully I get that same reaction when I taste it now that it's arrived. So this is a Liu Bao tea. For those of you who don't know, Liu Bao is a heicha, or a ripened tea, which means it's been fermented. So it falls within the broad category of post-fermented teas, but it's ripened. So similar to a shu or shou pu'er, so you've seen those dark pu'er cakes. This is a similar process, although it is different. It's actually more traditional than shu pu'er. It comes from Guangxi, so the season on this is the mid-1990s, so it's very old, right? So it's 30 years old. Mid-1990s, the cultivar is the Guangxi Daiyezhong, so it's the big leaf variety, but from the Guangxi province, because the origin is Guangxi province, specifically the area around Guilin. Guilin, oh, I love Guilin. If you ever get a chance to go to Guilin, go check it out. It's an amazing, like magical, mythical country. So Guilin, Guangxi in China. Picking on this, well, mostly stems. There are some leaves here, as I said. Now, you've probably heard of stem teas before, kukicha being one of the most famous Japanese stem teas. Stem teas tend to be more affordable and tend to have a lighter, more soft character to them. Now, I've done videos before about tasting just stems, and I've changed my opinion over the years. I think when I first started getting into tea, it was always like, oh, why is there so much stem? Because stem I always associated with badly sorted tea. But if stem is an intention of the producer, if you just taste the stems of teas actually taste really quite different from the leaves, and are actually very, very nice, and can add a very different character. As I say, they add a different flavor to it, a bit more nutty and a bit lighter and a bit cleaner and a bit clearer. Kukicha being an example, but also if you know, one of my favorite teas is Shifu's pudding, which is a traditional tea guanyin that includes lots of stem. Raw pu'er tends to have quite a lot of stem in it as well. So I've now grown very fond of stems. That being said, when I see teas like this, I think, oh, is that because they didn't sort it properly, or is that intention? Well, as soon as I tasted it, I knew it was intention. So it's stems and mostly leaves, elevation around 500 meters, although it was in the mid-90s, so it's hard to gauge provenance. Right, let's dive into this tea. I've got my Zeni spiral pot here. Gaiwan. I'm so used to saying that clay is made, the pots are made out of clay and not gaiwans, which is what I love about this. A proper zersha, really high quality clay, but in a gaiwan format. You know how much I love brewing in gaiwans because of the simplicity, but also because of this big, large opening for me to get my nose in, because I'm hoping that I am going to have another ratatouille moment here. As I said, it was transportive. When I drank the tea the first time, I was like, it wasn't even hard for me to gauge where's that memory coming from. I was instantly transported, and I will tell you about the memory when I drink it. Hopefully I get the same reaction, and I think I might get it even on the smell of at least the wet leaf, but probably it'll be there in the dry leaf as well. Early doors here in London. It's about 5 a.m. You know how I do. Love to have these early morning sessions. While the world sleeps, my nose wakes up to a 1990s Liu Bao. Yeah. Let me just enjoy it for a bit. Okay, so there's so much happening that is delightful in this smell. The first thing that I will say is the smell is so, this is going to sound a bit odd, but it's so clean. And what I mean by that is it's not that it's empty. It's rich. It's got so much, but every aroma is so lovely, clear and defined. It's like they've been all polished. So what am I getting? A little bit of shoe polish, a little bit of nuts. In fact, a lot of nuts, walnuts, peanut butter, some celery tops, just a little small baby leaves of celery, antique wood. But the overriding smell, the one that really captured me and gave me that ratatouille moment, is a very particular laundry smell. It's like they've somehow captured in this tea some laundry detergent that was used specifically in my grandmother's apartment. So when my mother is from Switzerland, and so as a child, the greatest memories were for me traveling to Switzerland to visit my cousins and my grandmother, and we used to drive. We couldn't afford the planes, or it wasn't such a thing to do those kinds of flights. So we'd drive from London to Switzerland, which would take a couple of days. Yeah, around, a day and a half, 2 days. So it would be that thing where you get in the car in London and you'd be on this road trip, and it'd be, exciting. You're going to Switzerland, but also it's long, right? You've got to drive, you've got to get the ferry, you've got to drive all the way through France. And then you hit the mountains, and you've got this sort of always exciting but slightly freaky, mountain passes that you got to get to. And we'd drive up to La Chaux-de-Fonds, this town on the border of Switzerland, on the border of France, but in Switzerland, and it'd be up in the mountains, and invariably it would be snowing. So there'd always be this sort of scary moments of, driving a car probably not that well equipped for snow, because, it's a London car, driving on the mountains, dark. We'd always seem to arrive in the night, or usually was night. And then you'd reach La Chaux-de-Fonds, and you'd see the twinkling lights of La Chaux-de-Fonds, and usually it was Christmas time, and you'd have lights, and we'd be like, we're here. And it was that excitement usually of Christmas, and of visiting my family in Switzerland, and the snow, and, all of that, right? There's just this magical moment. And then we would arrive at my grandmother's apartment block, and would park the car. And the thing that my sister and I would always talk about was the smell when we opened the lobby into my grandmother's apartment block. So not her apartment, which had a very different smell, very particular, which, oh my gosh, that if I ever find that in a tea, I will hoard that tea. But the smell of walking into that apartment block, where, it had like tiled flooring. So I don't know, they probably used some sort of cleaners to clean the floor. It's like mailboxes, so I don't know, the smell of something there. And there must have been a laundry being done nearby. But the culmination of the cleaners, the environment, maybe even the paper in the letters in the mailboxes, and the laundry just combined to create this smell that was so unique, and so like the smell that we craved throughout the year and throughout this trip. we always talked, me and my sister said, I wonder if it's going to smell the same. And every time we got there, we'd open the door and we'd smile at each other and we'd say, that is the smell. We'd just take it in before we'd even go up and see my grandmother and ring that bell and go and be welcomed by my grandmother, usually with a rabbit stew. That for me, I have never, like, that is such a precious smell to me. And I talked about it with my sister so many times as a kid, and I kind of forgot about it. And then when I smelt this tea, I was just lost. I just couldn't believe it. And it still happens when I smell this tea now. It's so amazing to me. I don't know how this tea does it, but it brings me there. And I didn't buy this tea just because of that, but I tell you, like, that I would have bought it for myself just for that. But it is, from my tasting and from this smell, also just a remarkable tea, whether or not you have a similar memory. And I wonder if this will connect with other people's memories as well, because for some reason, this is just so vintage and so antique. So mid-90s, vintage Liu Bao, the smell is just remarkable. The clean laundry smell is just amazing in it. It really is. But then it's got Brazil nuts, it's got rock sugar, it's got wood lacquer. So it's got all of those Liu Bao notes, lots of sweet rock sugar. Shoe polish has turned to wood lacquer. Walnuts and peanut butter has turned to Brazil nuts. It's also got this sort of comforting, again, soothing smell of steamed, just freshly steamed rice. Freshly steamed white rice. Ah. It's one of the most comforting and yet clean and bright smells that I've ever had in a Liu Bao. And when I spoke to the producers of this tea, or the people who had this tea, who were the producers, I mean, down the line, they said that this tea was intentionally made for making something that was this style of tea, this style of Liu Bao. They call it Lao Cha Gang. Is intentionally stemmy to make sure it's very soothing and cleansing and mild and refreshing. And I just don't know if they make this kind of tea anymore. Maybe they do, but I'm definitely going to be seeking it out for sure. Because Liu Bao is one of my favorite tea types. Look at the color, light, right? It's one of my favorite tea types, and I love that sort of rich, betel nut, herbal, herbaceous, nutsy quality to it, but it's rich and strong and clean, yes, and cleansing and digestive, but it's about richness. This is about an elegance, yes, rich in terms of lots of flavor notes, but cleansing, soothing, and elegant. Check out the liquor. As I said, it is, compared to a lot of Liu Baos, a lot lighter. And there is still a herbal note in this tea, for sure. Oh, what else is there? Candied pecan nuts. Or, you go to those street vendors and they've got those candied nuts. You walk past. I never buy them, but I like the smell, because I know it's just doused in sugar, but the smell of the candied nuts. There's a touch fruity note, like, that'll come to me. I will say like an apple compote, a light apple compote made with Granny Smith apples, so quite tart apples in a compote. So it's got these fruity notes, nuts, lacquers, laundry, but all in this very ultra polished, focused palette. Cheers, everybody. Texture. Texture is medium, as you'd expect. You're not going to get a lot of thickness out of the stems. But when we talk about texture, I don't want people to have the idea that thick tea is always best. The texture of the tea needs to match the character of the tea. Everything in terms of appreciation of food and drink and aroma is about how you judge the coherency of character. And I've done a video about this, so I'm not going to repeat myself. But texture needs to match it, and this does. This medium, I would even say medium light character of the stems matches that lightness of the taste. And again, when I say lightness of taste, I don't mean that it's weak or dilute. I mean, it has a brightness about it. Okay, let's try to dig into taste. That laundry, that memory of that smell is translated from dry to wet to taste. I mean, this is like straight up childhood. I cannot wait for my sister to try this tea. Has a little floral note in there. Violets, Parma violets, or kind of, the flowery note of love hearts. I think it's probably a violet aroma. Still getting the peanut butter. I'm still getting pretty much all the notes that I was getting in the dry and the wet. Laundry, nuts, brown sugar. Yeah, brown sugar. That steamed rice has turned into a very particular note. If you've ever been to China, or maybe even outside China, they have like a mung bean and grain porridge. So it's lots of different grains and mung beans, and it's a porridge. It's really hearty and soothing and warming and like textured, and it's lovely. And then you can have it with rock sugar. So this has got that rock sugar, brown sugar, porridgey note to it. But it's not creamy. It's not like creamy oat porridge with milk. It's altogether more less dairy, more clean than that. And the aftertaste is the texture on it in terms of the finish is refreshing, not dry, because again, stems are not going to bring dryness. Refreshing and light, but then leaves your mouth with a really nutty maple syrup. Brown sugar maple syrup, sweet juiciness. Not flooding, but there, ever present, just sweet, comforting, soothing. But it's so fresh and uplifting as well. A great tea for any time of day. And the character of this tea is straight up soothing, comforting, but light. Okay, I've repeated myself, but I hope that you get that's an unusual character, because a lot of times when you have soothing, comforting, it's like rich, soothing, comforting, and like a hot bowl of cocoa. No, this is soothing, comforting, but clean and digestive, like you've been given like a really lovely, slightly medicinal, soothing drink from like your grandmother, but still sweet and still delicious and nutty and peanut buttery. I think this is the kind of tea that would be amazing if you're like feeling in hot weather, if it's hot and humid and you want something that's just gonna sort of take away the dampness, I think this would be an amazing tea. But it's winter here in London, and it's also a great tea for this. I think this is an all-rounder. But stem teas tend to be like that. And I think this is also a tea that's not going to have a lot of caffeine. So it's going to be a tea that is, well, I don't think so. It's going to be suitable for so many people. It's one of those aged vintages, one of those rare times when you can get something that's very specialized, very, specialty pinnacle tea, 1990s aged Liu Bao, but has a very universal quality. I think it's going to be a tea that a lot of people will love. Oh my God, that laundry, it's just doing my head in. Right, let's smell the empty Gongdabe. Oh, what a tea. So happy I've got this in my collection. Oh, if you've ever had grass jelly drink, then you'll know that it's a particular smell. It's kind of light but herbaceous, a little bit sweet because normally it's sweetened with some brown sugar. Brown sugar grass jelly. Oh my gosh, this is so childhood for me because grass jelly is like my grandmother on the other side, my Chinese grandmother. And like whenever I'd go to Hong Kong, grass jelly drinks, which I didn't particularly love as a kid, but I just have it as a memory, a taste. My dad always used to get them and always used to say to me, have some grass jelly, try it. And I'd be like, and you suck up these cubes of grass jelly. And as a kid, I was like, I don't really like it. But, the beans and the grass jelly. I mean, that is beans and grass jelly. And that mung bean porridge. For all of those who have a history or connection with Hong Kong or with China, mostly Guangdong area, then grass jelly and beans and mung bean porridge and that grain porridge and the rock sugar, all those notes. So this is like a tea which is just taking my childhood memories and just mashing them up into this tea, but in the most elegant light, and it's just presenting those memories to me in the most soothing, happy way. It's so cleansing and soothing. Anyway, I clearly have a very strong connection with this tea. I hope that you will too. Body sensation on this tea is, I think, going to be very cleansing, very digestive, but is also going to be not too energizing because it's mostly made up of stems. You can see, look at these like mahogany brown stems. Isn't that amazing? So that is clearly intention, right? This is not something that, they didn't sort it well and they forgot to take, or they didn't take out as many of the stems as they could. No, this is clearly, we are making a stem tea. That is 90% stem, I would say. Something like that. So yeah, this is intention, and that is a huge difference, right? It's all about intention. So as I said, body sensation, I think is going to be quite calm and relaxing. I don't think it's going to be particularly energizing. So again, soothing, comforting, exactly what you would want if you go visit your grandma, right? Unfortunately, she's no longer with us, but this infusion is going to be for her. Let me know teas that just bring you back to a certain memory in your life in the comments. I would love to know how tea has connected you to memories in your life, because it can be so powerful and build such a strong emotional connection with the tea. Cheers to my grandmothers. That's it, tea heads. Check out our other videos, taste our teas wherever you're in the world by browsing mayleaf.com, and come visit us if you're ever in London. Other than that, I'm Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from those tea bags. Keep drinking this sublime stuff and spread the word, because nobody deserves bad tea. Bye.